Hello, Leveraged Wealth family. It's Matthew Decker with Cash Value Life Insurance Reviews here on YouTube. I also run Leveraged Wealth Management. We got another product review ready for you today. Now, if you're new to the channel, we specialize in all things fixed instruments, specifically Cash Value Life Insurance, and we do a lot of these reviews. And today with me, I have one of my business partners, Craig Guffey, who handles a majority of our discovery calls here for the Leveraged Wealth team. And the reason that Craig is here is because he kind of brought this product review to us because he'd been hearing a lot of questions about this product. So let me just turn it over to you, Craig. What are we talking about today and why?
Sure. Yeah, so we do somewhere in the neighborhood, we actually lost count, call it 700 different policy reviews every single year. And
for people,
yes. Just like you can see in any of Matt's links, we talk about these IUL reviews. So that's what we're talking about here. People send in their policies, they want a second look, and so we do that each and every day. And we see a few different products pop up all the time. And one that has been popping up even more recently is this Securian BGA 2 product. And it's not so much that the product is popping up, it is, but it's also the same type of product, even with these same exact little comment bubbles all throughout the illustration. And these comment bubbles they're from actual agents and producers, not from the carriers themselves. And so it's happened enough, and I'm handling many of these questions on the discovery call that we thought it might be helpful to just get on here and expose it all for everyone.
And there's quite a few little nuances in this particular product. So I don't know where you want to start. Yeah. Why don't you just kind of lead the conversation and we'll kind of take it as it comes.
Sure. Yeah. So I would say the first thing that stands out is that every single one of these policies that come in are baked. The index of choice is this Prism Index. Every single time, 100% of the dollars are being put into this index. And there's a few things that stood out to me, but Matt, I'd love your expertise on what do you see tied to this Prism Index?
Well, great question. And the first thing that I'm going to look at when I'm looking at any type of new index on these policies is, number one, what's the backing index? What's it tied to? So this is called the S&P Prism. Okay, well, off the shelf, when I think of the S&P Prism Index, I don't have a box for that. And you probably don't either, because the S&P Prism Index has been around for how long, Craig?
Yeah, I wrote it down here. It was launched in February of 2018.
Okay, so It's not my fault that I have no concept of what the S&P Prism... Okay, it's pretty new. So that's the first thing that I noticed. This is a new index. It has virtually no track record. 2018, you said.
Yep.
And it's a 3-year index, which means the money has to be in the index for 3 years before you get any type of credit. And if it was established in 2018, that means that there's only how many possible credits on this particular index?
That'd be one.
One,
yeah.
I guess maybe two, depending on the month that you bought it.
Maybe, yeah.
Potentially. Okay. So there's one actual return of this index. And yet, when I scroll to the product page, or not the product page, but the historical data page for this particular product, the S&P Prism account, 3 years. Craig, I'm seeing here that they're giving me 30 years worth of historical performance. What's that about?
Yeah, I think you should tell us, Matt. Okay. I think everybody kind of knows, but why don't you just spell it out for them?
Yeah, so the way that these companies work these new products is they build an index with let's say it this way. If I were giving you a pop quiz and I gave you the answers to the test, you'd probably score pretty well on that quiz, I'm guessing. And that's what these companies are doing with these brand new index options. They're building an index with the answers to the test in mind. And another way to say that would be they know how the market has performed over the last 30 years. And so they're going to build an index or an algorithm that trades these accounts in a way that makes them look good over the last 30 years. And surprise, surprise, they can do that pretty well because they have the answers to the test. So all of these returns that you see are, they're not real. They weren't actually, this index didn't exist to actually capture these returns. This is called backtesting or backcasting. They know how the index has performed, so they make the right buys and sells in order to have an attractive historical record or historical return, but those returns aren't actually real. And so that's the first thing that I see with this index, that you just have to know that everything you see here, all these historical returns, they're not real.
Right.
And that's a major problem. And the reason it's a problem, maybe I'm jumping ahead, Craig, but the reason it's a problem is because if this account works well, great. Okay, great.
Yep.
If it doesn't work well, which it has no track record to suggest that it will, the backup option or the fallback option is probably this S&P account with an 8% cap,
right?
Which is one of the lowest caps in the industry on a 1-year S&P. So you basically have all your eggs in one basket, and it's an untested basket. And that's the first issue with the Prism.
Right. And then to take it a step further, what really stood out and why we've brought this particular example is inside these comments, and we don't feel the necessary need to show you them. If you've seen them, you know. So many of the selling points being used are talking about this Prism and using these same averages as the context to how this product is going to work and perform. So you've kind of got a combo, right? You've got an index that hasn't proven itself based on back-tested data, and then we're often seeing producers use those same averages inside selling points to try and bring some clarity. In reality, what they're doing is selling something that hasn't proven it exists.
That's right. And then to kind of pile on to that, not to pile onto this index. I mean, I'm sure this index is a nice index, but let's just go ahead and just tell you what it is and how it works. Most of the growth on this index is coming from this bonus here, this 190% index bonus, which essentially means you're getting almost 2 times the credit in this index based on how the account does. But what's troubling about this particular bonus is it's totally non-guaranteed.
Right.
In fact, it has a little asterisk right there, and really it's not the only one. This 2% has an asterisk, the 115 has an asterisk. And if you look at the fine print, it's the only thing that's not highlighted on this particular sheet is the asterisk, which it's probably the only thing that should be highlighted. Subject to change.
Right.
Minnesota Life can change these rates for any reason, including changes in market conditions and the impact it may have on our profit margins. That's a problem for me. Yeah. If you have a giant 2x multiple nearly, in this case, that is fueling the majority of the growth on an untested brand new index that only has maybe one return, and that 2x multiple is subject to change on a whim for any reason. It says literally for any reason. I mean, there's products out there that don't have that language. Right. So why put yourself into a position where you're subjecting yourself to the for any reason type legalese that is not going to work in your favor, right? Because it never does.
That's right. Yeah, around leverage, we joke all the time. We need to get T-shirts made that just say "We hate asterisks."
Right.
And this is one of the reasons why we feel so strongly about it. So those were two of the things. You actually just you touched on that second one. We wanted to talk about Prism, which we see all the time, and then the second are the non-guaranteed portions, the asterisks inside of this policy that the performance is predicated on. So maybe the last thing we want to touch on with this that we see a lot are the loan provisions within this particular product. Could you speak to those?
Yeah, I absolutely can. And you're absolutely right. The loan provisions on this particular product are tricky. And unfortunately, a lot of companies are going this way. And I don't want to give you all the backstory as to why. You just need to know that typically there's only 2 types of loan provisions on these policies. You're going to have your fixed rate, which is kind of like a wash loan, is how a lot of people may conceptualize that loan provision. Nearly every good company is going to have a wash loan. If it doesn't have a wash loan, a true wash loan, and by wash loan, I guess I should explain. Yeah. What I mean is they're going to charge you the same thing that they credit you. There's a couple companies that don't even have that. And we've talked about those companies before, but let's stick to the one at hand here. Most companies have 2 types of loans. They have their pure fixed loan or wash loan where they charge you what they credit you. And then they have a second loan, which is called a participating loan. And typically companies are going to have either a fixed participating loan or a variable participating loan. Okay, so that's how the industry has been for the longest period of time. Unfortunately, companies are adding 3 types of loans. And you may think, well, 3 is better than 2 because I have more options. but not necessarily, because if there's 3 types of loan provisions, the company can get into a little bit of trouble. Let me explain why. In this particular policy, you have your standard indexed loan. Let's see how it reads. They're going to charge you 4.75%, and it's constant. So that's good. On the face of it, 4.75, you know exactly what they're going to charge you, and that's great. Let's read the rate on the variable. So rate charged for the variable varies based on the Moody's corporate bond yield average up to a maximum of 1% above the current fixed account crediting rate. So traditionally, I'm not in favor of these variable loan provisions because you don't know what you're going to be charged to access your money in the future. And here's where we get into the problem. This particular company for the longest time only had the variable loan rate provision. And people like me have been kind of sounding the alarm on that uncapped, kind of mysterious, what are they going to charge you for your money in the future for years now. And so companies have started coming out with 3 types of loan provisions. And unfortunately, again, we get into the legalese, it's not great. Because you can't have 2 loan provisions where one is fixed and one is variable without some other cost control metric on the policy. Otherwise, if you take the fixed loan and I take the variable loan and my rate is 8 and your rate is 4.75, we don't have the same level of profitability for the company. Right. And that's a problem for them because they need, if we're the same age and the same risk class, the same health status, we're both men, paying the same premium, we should be just as profitable to the company on the average. But if we choose different loan rates, we're not. So what do? What happens to your loan amount? Well, in the indexed loan, they're going to transfer from your current fixed or indexed accounts into the indexed loan account. So what that means is they're going to take control of where your money is invested, and they're going to put it into a specific indexing account that you can only get into if you choose their indexed loan. And those rates and those caps can be different than every other index on the books. And it just so happens that oftentimes they are. Juxtaposed to the variable rate, which is what this Securian product had for the longest period of time, it actually reads more favorable. What happens to your loan amount? Well, it remains in your current fixed or indexed accounts. So you're in a conundrum here. Either you choose the variable rate where you don't know what they're going to charge you, but you get to decide where your money's invested, or you choose the fixed rate where you know what you're going to be charged, but now you don't have control over your dollars. The company gets to decide where your money goes, where it's invested, and those caps and those rates are adjusted on a different schedule apart from all the other index options on the books. And to me, again, why put yourself in that position if you don't have to? Because the only companies that have this type of language are the ones that have tried to add all 3 types of loans. And it just creates a little bit of a mess.
Right. Yeah. At the end of the day, we talk about these policies as contracts, and contracts have 2 sides. You're agreeing to one part, which is paying a premium, and they're agreeing to the other side, which is if this happens, this will be the growth of the product.
That's right.
And what I pick up from what you're saying, Matt, is the fixed rate, which is part of the contract that you want to control. They're putting money into something that you then lose control. And they actually, inside this product, they never tell you, inside the illustration at least, even what the current caps are. And so just you're entering into a contract with some unknowns.
That's right.
And that's bad news sometimes.
That's right. So when we do product reviews for people, these are the types of things that we talk about. And our goal is to get you into a policy that's going to give you the best contractual provisions that's going to accomplish your goals. And so we do that through our discovery call process where you meet with a member of our team. We talk to you about what you're trying to do, and we try to figure out, is this even a fit for you or not? And if you're interested in that process, check us out at leveragedwm.com/contact-us. We'll also put a call out up above where you can just click that link and go straight to our calendar or book a call with us. It's about a 15-minute call. We love to get to know you, figure out what you're trying to do, and ultimately figure out if an index life policy for tax-free retirement income is something that's going to benefit you or not.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
So that's our policy review on the Securian BGA 2. Stick around and check out more product reviews that we'll have coming up soon. Until next time, take care.